Social stability is absolutely key to ensuring the ongoing legitimacy and stability of party rule. And since the collapse of the Soviet Union, but also since Xi Jinping was appointed General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party a decade ago, a lot of time has been spent intellectually and in the historical organ of the party establishment in looking at the reasons for the collapse of the Soviet Union. And basically, the official mantra there is that the party system collapsed. There was a collapse of ideology. And so the party no longer stood for anything. And so as the Soviet Union was racing towards economic and social reforms, it actually lost control of the absolute foundational aspects of the Marxist-Leninist organization, which the Communist Party was always very much all about. And so if you look at what Xi Jinping has delivered over the last 10 years in terms of party reform, the party is back with a vengeance. If you look at the way the cadre system is organized, if you look at the way that party governance is managed, if you look at the way that officials are trained, the way they're promoted, but also the role of ideology at the forefront of everything that the Communist Party is about. It's all about making sure that history does not repeat itself and that China does not go down the path of the Soviet Union.
Now, Laurie, President Xi Jinping is expected to be given another 5-year term in office. How much is this due to his popularity, or is it a reflection of how successful he's been, at weeding out any potential rivals within the party?
Look, I think it's a fusion of all of those factors, really. If you were to spend time walking on the streets of an average Chinese city, or if you were to talk to most Chinese people, as I've done over the last few years, there's no doubt that Xi Jinping is remarkably popular. There is a sense that you hear this a lot, that he is the only one that can take China forward. And there is some would call a cult of personality, which is evolving around him. But at the same time, ordinary Chinese people are looking at the anti-corruption campaign, which was a hallmark of his first term in office, and indeed it's not stopped. And people looked at the China that preceded the arrival of Xi Jinping as General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, and they saw an institution that was pretty rotten. And Xi Jinping was able to, really take that on, and it's been a defining feature of his administration. And so I think people's faith in the party in terms of a representative organization that is able to weed out corruption and really put economic progress and also social stability and harmony at the forefront of people's considerations, I think is there. I think it's legitimate. A number of people contend that he's been ruthless as a Machiavellian politician in terms of being able to weed out his opponents. And I think that an element of that is true. If you look at the purges that we've seen take place over the last decade, indeed, you saw a purge of a top official in the Standing Committee of the Politburo, which is the supreme decision-making.
So in the lead-up to the CCP Congress, we've seen protests in Beijing, albeit they were small ones. Still, there's no denying people are angry about the zero COVID policy that's affected their ability to earn an income. It's affected the country's economy as well. Is this something that the party is going to take into consideration, this, growing frustration within the nation?
Zero COVID was remarkably effective at controlling the original strain and the Delta variant. Omicron comes along and it was an absolute game changer. And you're seeing a massive impact now on GDP numbers. But what's fascinating about zero COVID is that you're seeing youth unemployment at record highs. And also at a local government level, the impact of compulsory PCR testing has been devastating on local government finances, especially in hinterland Chinese provinces and cities. And on top of that, you've seen the Chinese government over the last couple of years really try and rein in the property sector. And of course, over the last 40 years of reform and opening up, It's been land sales, which have been the bedrock, if you like, of local government finances in China. So you suddenly switch off land sales, you lock down cities, and you mandate every single citizen within your jurisdiction to take a PCR test every 48 hours, all at the expense of the taxpayer. And you're seeing incredible pressure on public finance and also the overall health of GDP. And so where China takes zero COVID over the course of the coming weeks, the coming months, the coming years is going to be decisive in terms of ensuring the restoration, if you like, of some measure of economic stability.
So the Congress is all about the CCP members discussing the direction that the country is taking for the next 5 years. What are you expecting to come out of this week-long summit?
So all eyes, Fauzia, are on the changes which will be made to the constitution of the Chinese Communist Party. And that will tell us a range of things. So what title will Xi Jinping's ideology have within the official constitution of the ruling party? So at the moment, you have something which is a bit, I think, what people are also going to be looking for outside of the constitution and the formalities that go in there ideologically is Xi Jinping going to give himself a new title? And so by that, today we call him General Secretary Xi, or we call him President Xi. We don't call him Chairman Xi. We've not called a Chinese leader chairman since the end of the Mao era. And so if he appoints himself party chairman, we're going to see a return to a position that I think all of us watching China thought was consigned to the scrap heap of history with the end of the Cultural Revolution and the rise of Xi Jinping. And that's important because that puts him alongside, it puts him on equal footing with Mao Zedong, who is still remembered as the guardian and gatekeeper of the Communist Party and its legitimacy. And so what else comes with that? Does Xi Jinping, therefore, over coming years, will that give us an insight into any indication that he's going to appoint a successor? So, for example, if he appoints himself party chairman, he might appoint another general secretary, or he might appoint some other position or send some kind of signal that there's going to be someone else waiting in the wings. But I think, as others have said, I think that we need to get ready for Xi Jinping's rule of China to continue certainly throughout the rest of this decade and potentially into the following one as well.
Laurie Piercy, thank you so much for chatting with us today.